Hello, good evening everyone. Let's hope this is all working. New title sequence tonight, new thumbnails, big spring clean on the whole YouTube front, but more of that later. Welcome to the show. Is the sound coming through? It looks like it on my screen, so hopefully we're good to go. So welcome everyone. Little bit different tonight. I'm going to try something I haven't tried before, and in addition to things like the change of thumbnails, the change of title sequence, the new countdown and all that, I'm going to try something very different. If it all works, part of the show I won't be behind the desk, I will be elsewhere in the studio. I just hope that the whole thing works. Yep, good, we have sound. Yeah, I was just looking in the chat there and just heard the news that Andrew Appleton has died. So yeah, sad news on that. Never got to go to any of his training sessions, but yeah, sad news. Okay, so let's make a start. If we've got anybody new watching who isn't a regular on the show or coming to the show, let me just tell you how these work. They are weekly shows, Sunday night at 7:30 each week. I say this every week, they stay on YouTube for a while and then get edited down. I'm just way behind on the editing down. So if you enjoy tonight's and want to see some of the previous ones, they're going to be up there for a little while until I can finish the editing down on them. After which they will be in my academy. And I am posting extracts from them onto YouTube. That's already happening. You'll find, for example, one of the 3-minute edits went live this week up on YouTube, all condensed down so that you don't have the waffle in between, things like that. So that's all up there, all good. What else can I say about these shows? Ask questions in the chat. I've got the chat window up here. I'm keeping an eye on it. Sometimes I get distracted by it, but that's the place to ask questions. I have a couple of points in the show where I'll deal with live Q&A, and I can see already we've got plenty of people in there chatting. Ron, Kev, Tim, hello folks. Michael, nice to see you back again. Stuart, good to see you there, and Rick's on board as well, both recorded and in the chat, and Gary as well on there. So great to see you all there. There is a slight time delay between what you hear of me and when I speak. It's about 30 seconds, has been known to be as long as 2 minutes. So keep that in mind with questions, get them in early, just so that I know that they're there. If you're watching this on the replay, please comment in the comments so I know you've seen it, and any questions, put them in there and I'll deal with them in a future show. My usual plea at this point, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. No, my YouTube channels, plural now. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Comment on the videos, always helpful. I've noticed a lot more comments coming up recently. And I really appreciate that, folks, so thank you for doing that. And liking them, that also helps as well. Go on, hit the like button now for this live stream. You know you want to. And share the links. I know some of you are doing, and I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you, folks, for all the help that you are giving to this live stream. So what else can I say? Yeah, images for the 3-minute edit challenge. I've had quite a few come in recently. Some people have been giving me multiple images, some of whom we've done the first ones of, and we're going to be looking at their second ones. But if you've never had an image done and want to, do send me some, because you'll jump the queue. Those who've had no images done take priority over those that I'm going back to. And if you've had 2 images done, then anyone who's only had 1 image done and wants a second will take priority over that. Anyway, I'm sure you get the idea about how it all works on there. The showcase, I've had a couple of volunteers. Part 2 of one today. If you like what I've been doing with that, then get in touch. I can send you the questions. I know there's a couple of people who've said they're interested. A couple of people have got the questions and will be providing something in the coming weeks. And Stuart, I know you said you were interested. I will get the questions off to you, but no rush on that because I know you can't do it immediately. But thank you for offering on that. So what have we got on the show this week? Well, we've got news, my usual sort of news section on there. The big feature tonight, our lead story as it were, is all about creating a home studio. And I'm looking at doing it on the cheap. So this isn't about setting up a big studio setup at home. This is how you can do studio photography with the absolute minimum amount of kit, so that if you want to dabble and want to find out about how to do this, then this is the way to get started with it, and just to get a feel for all that, and then you can improve and upgrade as time goes on. That's where the technical challenge is going to come on, because when I deal with that bit, I'm not going to be behind the desk. I'm going to be in another part of the studio, and I'm hoping I have the time to switch everything round while I'm playing in a video, and hopefully I don't break anything when it all happens. So we'll see on there. Yeah, Rick Bradbury is saying, well, I was asking about like. He says, is it the thumbs down button? Yes, Rick, you can hit the thumbs down button. Actually, YouTube makes no differences at all between a thumbs up and a thumbs down in terms of how they rate the interaction. It's interaction, and that is what actually helps me. So if you must put a thumbs down, then yep, fine, I'll take that. I prefer a thumbs up because it looks better, but yeah, any form of interaction will do. Thank you. Right, what else have we got? The 3-minute challenge. We've got images, an image tonight from photographer Dimitri. And again, a little bit different. This is not a portrait image. And the live Q&A, of course, on there. So what's been happening this week? Well, as most of you have probably realized, my thumbnails, my carefully crafted graphic thumbnails, which I actually love, have been ditched. It appears that I was the only person who loved them, so they had to go. A lot of positive feedback on the new style. People seem to be liking them, getting good click-through rates, things like that. So new videos up there as well. You can see on the screen that we've got tutorials on repetition, a tutorial, well, a Lightroom challenge video there. And on that list are the me just generally talking to camera. Do I suck at YouTube? That was last week. And thank you to everyone who's responded to that and given me feedback. And it sent me off in a new direction with YouTube. The change of the thumbnails, for one. New title sequence. You saw that tonight on the live stream. It's on most of those videos that you can see listed on there. And that will be what I'll be using going forward. And it's also led me to this, a brand new YouTube channel. That's right, I'm splitting off all my travel related videos away from my studio related and basically non-travel stuff. So this channel that you're watching the live stream on, the Ian Studio channel, will remain covering stuff to do with studio. It will have a slightly wider remit than just studio based stuff, but anything that's to do with travel will be on the new channel, and that will include things like travel logs. It will include tutorials which are to do with travel photography, but that might include things like techniques such as photographing with repetition, or things like photographing waterfalls and things like that. It will cover things about shooting details on location. So things you would do when you're traveling. Yeah, and as Peter's saying, going back to these thing about the thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes, the thumbs down will influence visitors, and that's why I said I would prefer a thumbs up. But in terms of the YouTube algorithm, they're treated absolutely the same. It's all about interaction. So it's two different things, but please, thumbs up, folks. Right, moving on. My blog this week, for those who are following them, the 7 deadly sins, we've moved on to wrath, anger, and slightly different blog post on this one. And it's not just focusing on the unhelpful bits of anger, but also how we can use anger to move us forward, that righteous anger, that positive anger, that drive moving forward. So if you're interested in that, go and have a look on my website, www.ians-studio.co.uk. The link is down below the video if you want to have a look at that. So, 3-minute challenge. You should all know by now the concept behind this is Rick and I get given an image. We don't see much of it beforehand. In reality, we can't get them into Lightroom without seeing something of them, and it does have an influence to a greater or lesser extent. Usually we try to keep it down to a minimum. I'll explain later with mine how unfortunately it did influence me in a particular direction today. So I'll talk about that later. But I'm going to start off with Rick's challenge on here. Now, I have my own personal 3-minute challenge, because whilst this is playing through, I've got to rearrange the studio and be ready for coming back at the end of the thing. So hopefully it will all work. If something goes horribly wrong, then just bear with it and just wait a moment. I will get there. I will come back and we will be in a different position. Hopefully I'll get all this right. So 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hello, I am Terry Hewitt and I am undertaking a challenge for Ian Butterfield Studio. I am to critique this image provided by David Jones. Thank you to David for sending it to me. It is a very pleasing and attractive image with good composition.
Right, that was not the right video. Let's try again.
Hello, I am Terry Hewitt and I am undertaking a challenge for Ian Butterfield Studio. I am to critique this image provided by David Jones.
Hello and welcome to another 3-minute Lightroom edit challenge. My name is Rick Bradbury. I'm recording this separately ready for Ian's live stream, which is actually happening tomorrow evening. And this time we have an image sent in by Dimitri. If I've spelled your name wrong there, I do apologise. Let's go. Here we go. Okay, so we have here the image sent in by Dimitri, and this is a sports or motorsports shot rallying. By the look of it, not something that I do or have done myself. Very interesting. Very interesting. I think what I'm going to do first is do a reset to the image. Not a whole lot's really changed there. I'm just going to put the lens profiles back on, get rid of the noise reduction because it was shot at ISO 100. And we'll see what we can do. Now, initial impressions on this, if we get rid of that, make it a bit bigger, we can see it was shot on a Canon 70D, a 24-105, good solid lens at f11 80th of a second, which shows some movement, motion and speed whilst following the vehicle. I do like the look of the action. I mean, none of it's tack sharp, because the vehicle itself is obviously moving across the frame, but it's going to be moving up and down, bouncing around a little bit, no doubt on that terrain. And you've got the camera movement of the pan, and it adds a lot of energy to the shot, so that's cool. So let's see. There we go. I'm going to brighten it up just a touch, bring in some contrast with the curves. In fact, I might have to undo the global brightness. I'm just going to pump in a little bit of shadow detail, not a ton, just a little bit. Take the blacks down. This really doesn't need a whole lot doing to it. We'll go to Adobe Standard because Adobe Color, as always, sucks. Keep the color temperature warm. You don't need to mess with the tint on this. Go up a little bit in the contrast, and I think we will be good to go. I'll keep it bright because it looks like it was a nice bright day. I am not worried about any clipped highlights here. We're not really getting any, but if they were there, so be it. And we will go into texture now. Look at what that brings out. It does make it look more in focus, but that's not what I'm doing this for. A little bit of clarity, that's probably going a little bit too heavy. And dehaze, just a little bit, just tightens the image up. And then we will go for a little bit of masking. It doesn't really need a lot. Again, I'm sharpening just in general here. More than anything really, and we should be good to go. So we have before, and after, so it's just colour and contrast on that one. Hey, time's up. Shh, quiet. Okay.
Right, okay, so have we got sound from the microphone? The levels are moving, so it's all looking good. It looks like I managed to do the change in time. Now, a little bit dark on the image as far as I can see. That's because, of course, my lights are pointing in the opposite direction to where I am. Right, home studio. What I want to do is just talk about how you can set something up in a home with sort of the absolute minimum amount of kit. I'm just coming forward, just having a look at why I have got multiple levels going up here. Right, it may that there's a problem. I can't operate the laptop. I just need to change one thing. Yeah, there we go. Right, okay, sorry about that. I suspect there was an echo going through there because there appeared to be two mics switched on, or rather the one mic switched on twice on there. So let's talk about what we're doing here. Right, okay, home studio. Now, when I started out shooting sort of studio style stuff, I wanted to have the absolute basic kit to find out whether I wanted to do that type of thing. Now, what you need is, you need lights, you need a background, you need triggers, and you need all sorts of little bits and pieces. So I'm going to go through some of that gear. Now, the first thing that some people start, actually one of the odd things that people ask about more commonly to do with setting up a studio at home is about backgrounds. So let's start with the topic of backgrounds. If I just move the camera out a little bit so you can see what I have behind me. This is the very first background I ever purchased for doing portraits. And what is it? Actually, it's not a background per se. It's actually some roller blind material. And I have stood it on a couple of lighting stands. The bar across the top is actually a cardboard tube that the roller blind material came from. When I purchased it, I went to John Lewis and said I wanted a particular length. I'd measured up what length I wanted, and then I said, the tubes that it comes on, have you got any spare? And they said that they had, so they let me have one, and then just gaffer taped it to the top. Now, on the top of the tube, in the base of the tube, I created a couple of holes. I can show you the fairly obvious what it is, but if I show you on here, which is a different type of background, this is on wood, I've just drilled a hole through. On the cardboard, I just poked a hole in. But here's another idea for a background that you can use in a home-based studio. It's a Venetian blind. I'm not going to unravel it all. The photograph that was on the icon for the thumbnail for this live stream, that red background, was this blind. And again, just 2 lighting stands on either end like that. Now I'm using here my standard studio lighting stands for this, but any lighting stand will do with it, and you can get some quite cheap lighting stands. These sorts of things, little ones, they're not huge by any means, but you can get a pair of these off the likes of Amazon and eBay, probably about 30, 35 quid, something that sort of order. And they do go reasonably high, but they would be sufficient for lighting. And you can see with this, so I take it up to full height, the sort of length that it will go. So it goes off the top of the screen. So it's, well, I can just about reach the top on there. I know you can't quite see it on the video. So they do go reasonably high. They're not the most stable of things, but they will work as a starting point. So that was what I used for my very first sort of home studio, was something like that. So that gives you a background with stands, not the most solid of things like these. Preferably pay a little bit more for something to hold your background up, because that's going to be a little bit heavier. It's definitely needs to be higher than the lights. So think about that. So you've got that. Now, in terms of what else you can have with a home studio, instead of starting with lights, studio lights, you can work with speed lights. Now, I have my usual box of lights over here, and you don't need, well, I have one Canon light, really old one. I've had it about 20 years now, I should think, coming on. It's a Speedlight 550EX. It's okay, it's not very powerful. The settings on it will only go up in full stop, so it's a bit of a heavy-handed tool that there's no fine adjustments on it. I've got a Younger Nuo one, and somewhere a Trioppo, yeah, Trioppo light. So those are the 3 that I typically use with my speed lights. Now, one bit of advice is, if you're getting speed lights for your home studio or for any work really, I always advise the first light to get it with TTL through the lens metering, so that you've got that option of the camera taking control. And there are times I would use TTL. Now, I know I can't see the chat here, but the moment I start talking TTL, I half expect Rick to start complaining in chat about it. I know he doesn't like it. It's horses for courses. I have reasons when I will use it. There are times it can be really useful. But for most of the time, you're going to be in manual mode with a sort of studio setup. So it doesn't mean, you don't need to buy 4 TTL-based lights, which are more expensive. Buy one that's TTL, and if that's all you can afford, you can work with that in manual mode or TTL mode, and there's lots you can do with just one speed light. You don't have to have multiples, but if you are buying extra, then number 2 and 3 can be manual only. So the likes of the Younger Nuo one, mine is purely manual. I don't need the auto functions on that. I just meter it and use it as it is. Again, relatively cheap. I paid about 30 to 40 quid for that a few years ago, so it might be a bit more expensive, but they're not that expensive. just to get you started in Studio. Now, the next thing is with these lights, you need to get them on top of the stand, which means you need a bracket. Now, brackets come in lots of different shapes and sizes. I'll come a bit closer to the camera so you can see what I've got here. I've got one which will take a trigger, just slides in the hot shoe attachment on there, and then if you can see, we just tighten that up to lock it into place. Now, be careful when choosing the bracket to go on top of the camera, because it does depend on the trigger that you're using. So you can see on that how it all goes together. But, and here's the big but, if you were using a trigger that looks like that, that kind of bracket would be no help to you. Why? Because on the base, it's a screw thread. So you would use a different type of bracket for that. And he says there was one on the table. Yes, there we go. So for that, I would just screw the two parts together, which is a lot easier when I don't have the thread. So that would be attaching. Now, if you end up with the wrong type together, what you need to do is get a suitable adapter. And I've got two different types here. This will go from the hot shoe type of adapter to the screw thread. I hope you can see that. Yep. And that one will go the other way from the hot shoe on top to screw underneath. They're only a few quid, but do try and get it right initially. I have a set here so I can just adapt anything and everything together with it. So that's given you, we've talked about backgrounds. Stands, yes, buy something as heavy as you can afford on there because that's more sturdy. We've talked about speed lights. If you're buying speed lights for a basic home studio, get first one that's TT, through the lens, TTL, metering on that. The others, purely manual, you can work off those. Brackets, make sure you've got that compatibility between the triggers that you're using and the brackets that you're using. What about light modifiers? Well, when I do this as a talk and a demo, which I've done for camera clubs, I set up 3 different light stands with each one with a different modifier on it. And I can do just about anything I want with this sort of basic setup with those 3 different types of modifiers. So what's the first one? The first modifier, I'll pull it in because in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I created earlier. It's the old umbrella. Now, a couple of things to be aware of with umbrellas and lighting stands. If you don't know this, there is actually an angle to the way the shaft goes through. Again, I don't know whether you can see that on there. It doesn't go through at true 90 degrees. There's an angle to it. This means that the flash is then pointing towards the center of there. So always be aware of that if you're working with umbrellas and you're starting off doing this sort of thing. Now, other types of modifiers that I'd recommend for a home studio is a softbox. I've only got part of it here. Again, it looks like an umbrella, but when I put it up, you can see it's square. And what we put over the front is the diffusion material to diffuse it down, and it just works like an ordinary softbox. The downside with them is once you've got the diffusion material on the front, it's an absolute swine to try and access the speed light because it's trapped in here. You'll pull it off and all that sort of thing. So that's the cheapest version. This one is a Mick and Sue version on there. Lots of different ones available. Again, it's cheap, it's basic. It's not necessarily the best kit, but it's enough to get you started if you want to experiment with a softbox, and it will work. So you've got that. But there is one other modifier that I want to talk about, and it's probably one of my favourites for sort of home studio or any speedlight type of work, and it's this. It's a grid. Now, if you don't know what the grid does, it actually constrains light. It doesn't focus it, it constrains it. Now, you can see here on the camera that when it's straight on, you can see me through it. If I tilt it very slightly, you can't see me. And back the other way. So it gives you a narrow sort of beam of light. It's not focused, but it does constrain it so it's right there. And it attaches to the front of the speed light like that. How does it attach? It attaches using a Velcro strip round. It says pulling the whole thing apart. The Velcro strip just goes around there, fastens on. It's rubber on the back of it, which means I can then take this with the two Velcro straps and I can attach it on the front like that. So we've got harsh light, and that allows you to really manipulate the light on your subject. So that's another thing to know. Now the set I have are by Optica. You can find them on Amazon, on eBay. They're not expensive, and they come with grid and all the Velcro straps to put them on. There are other manufacturers available. Some of them you'll pay £20 or so just for the grid without the holding system on there. Optica, I think I paid about £14–15 for it. It was a few years ago, and that just came with the entire attachment system as well. So that gives you the harsh light. So if you like images with that harsh edge to them, these are great for that. So again, it's cheap, it's a good way to start experimenting. And as I say, it's all stuff you can easily set up at home. Right, so I think that covers almost everything except to talk about triggers. Now, what I use, those of you who've been to my studio will know I use these little beasts from Yongnuo. They're completely universal, a 60, I can never remember the number. I think it's 602p on there. Really good. They don't make them anymore, unfortunately. So if anyone's got any that they want to get rid of, let me know, because I need to replenish my supplies here. They are so small on the camera that people tend to end up going home with them, and I've had quite a few go missing over the years. The other cheap option, which is still being made, again Yongnuo, they are sender receivers, transceiver ones. So it's the same on the camera as it is on the lights. Put your speed light on the shoe there. That part fits on top of the camera. You can use them to drive full-size studio lights as well. These are great. These are the RF603C. Now, that's where the problem comes. They are manufacturer specific. I know they do Canon, I know they do Nikon. I don't know whether they are supporting the likes of Sony on there with them. So do your research on that before going for something like that. But yes, there are cheap triggers available as well. So that's my sort of very brief outline of things to get you started with a sort of home-based studio. None of it is expensive. None of it is particularly top of the range in terms of quality, but it's enough if you're thinking of dabbling with studio. And I know some of the people who watch this wouldn't normally do studio work, and I know some others would only do it when they go to a studio. If you want something that you can use at home, this sort of idea should be enough just to get you started and to allow you to experiment, to learn the techniques and to try things out. So I hope that's been helpful. I don't know whether there's been any problems. I don't know what's going on in the chat because I'm completely blind to it here while I'm doing this section. So I'm going to play in now our next video, and this is part 2 of the photographer's showcase with David Jones. Now, a couple of things just to say about this is that some of the images that David supplied me with are not safe for work. I've put the black bars on them for the purposes of the live stream. I'm going to make the whole video of that interview available on the YouTube channel probably from tomorrow. It's not going to go up tonight as I originally had said to David, but it'll be up tomorrow. If you want to see the unedited versions or the uncensored versions, that's the right phrase, not unedited, then that will be up there then. So enjoy that, and while you're watching that, I'll try and return my studio back to what it should be for the rest of the live stream. So here we go. Let's hope I get the right video this time. Welcome to part 2 of this photographer showcase. We'll pick up where we left off last week.
I'm David. I run Luminite Photography as it stands at the moment.
What's your favourite piece of photographic equipment?
My favourite piece of equipment would have to be my strip boxes. I've left a couple here. One image is doing the muscles, another one's doing bodyscapes, which, as both of them are things I love to do. The strip boxes with the grids. I think I could do feel. Might have to take a bit of work, but I could pretty much shoot most things with just those. I've got a small one, a couple of big ones for near body lengths, and yeah, with the grids, without the grids, baffles and whatever, they're quite a versatile unit because it gives you a bit of direction as well. Yeah, I'll probably go with my strip boxes.
If you could photograph any one person, living or dead, who would it be?
Hey, I struggled with this one. If you could photograph one person, living or dead, and I struggle with this because I love deeply music. I love deeply movies. So I would choose one of each of them. And then there's from a photography point of view, who would I like to shoot? And it's so I'm going to give you 3, but that's why I am what I am and doing what it is. I couldn't narrow it down to one. So for me, on a personal level, on all of these would be Kevin Bacon, the actor. I've always admired him. Loved his stuff from Footloose back in the 80s. Showing my age, but hey, what are you going to do? Kill me. I think it's because he's got such a lived-in face. I mean, that's a compliment. That I would love to just shoot him from that perspective. A, because he's a hero of me, and B, because he's not a beauty. He's not all stretched skin and slick and all the rest of it. So I'd love to be able to have a chat and take a photo of him. Music wise would be Chris Rea. Again, because with the Kevin Bacon one, I can do more sort of headshots and keep it like that. That would do me. With the Chris Rea, it'd be more portraits, full length sort of portraits with a guitar or on stage or something. Just doing something that embodies music for me. Big fan of Road to Hell, the album, and Through the Years, and Dancing Down the Stony Road as well. So that would be that. And from photography point of view, I haven't. What would be interesting possibly would be to do Bill Brandt in the way that he done his ladies, which if you're not sure, have a look at him. It's kind of unflattering nudes of ladies or sections of ladies parts. It might be an ear on a beach is one of his stuff. I like his style, and I'd like to shoot him like that from a photography point of view, or Rory Lewis from a portrait, because he does really good portraits. I like them, so I'd love to be able to take his portrait. I'll leave that there before I get carried away.
Please tell us about some of your favourite images.
My favourite images. I've dropped about 4 or 5 in here because just showing a little bit of different aspects. The first one is this gent called Raphael, who was one of the first bodies, fitness muscle bodies I photographed. That I think he was literally the third. I think I did 2, and I sort of thought, ooh, maybe. And then I when I knew he was coming in, I made sure I did some research on fitness photography, lighting and stuff, and some ideas. And I took this picture, and it's still one of my favourites. There was a load in his set that I got just right. Yeah, so that's put me down the path of fitness as this guy. Second one is another gent I had in for a fitness shoot, but we lit it in such a way that it looks more like a bodyscape with him doing weights. And I really like that you don't see everything in it. I'm a big shadow fan. Do working out, and it's just such a I don't know. I don't know how best to describe it, but it just has a certain something for me. I just love it. Next one is a young lady who I've had in the IO studio about 5 times now, and on this particular occasion, we were just shooting some black and white headshots and stuff, and we were going to do some sort of topless nude stuff, and we didn't get time. And I said, "Oh look, well I got this tie. Can I just, while we had a different setup on, can we just try this?" And it was literally, she put the tie on, she put her hands in her hair. I took a picture. That was it. We only took that one picture from that one set, and I just love this picture. I love that effect. It was really so kind of spontaneous because we weren't really looking to do this at the end of the day. But she said, "Fine," we did it, and she loves it. I love it. I just great. Next one is my young lad who came down to help us out, do some modelling for us earlier this year before lockdown. And I had some gels. I'd ordered some gels, so I just went and have a play in the studio. Didn't really know what I was doing. Still don't. I need to play more with them. But we took this one picture. We took a few pictures, don't get me wrong, but this was the one that stood out for me. I really love it. I love it. The fact that you got the leading lines up to the head, and you got a little bit of the detail in the face, but the colours really ping it. And yeah, I love that. And the last one is my wife again, helping me out during the lockdown shoot. And I don't know what it is about this, but I just really love the way I just captured her, not really posing, more natural, relaxed. And yeah, I love the lighting on this. It just it's so soft. I'm so chuffed that I got that kind of lighting because it's something I was working towards. Yeah, it's one of the last pictures I took, and I just love it to pieces at the moment, to be honest.
How can people find out more about you and about your work?
Okay, so I've sent in some details. My website is luminitephotography.co.uk, and that's primarily for my fitness. But I've also got some black and white, more arty, what I call sculptured images. There's a selection on there. That whole website probably be changing soon, but it was just done to get going. But it's there. You've got contact details and whatever else. Facebook, it's Luminite Photography, and on there I'm posting mainly fitness with some portraits. And on Instagram, I've got 3 accounts. I've got Luminite Photo, which is my fitness. I've got Luminite Portraits, which, believe it or not, is my portraits. And Luminite NC, which stands for Nudes and Creatives. And so that's got obviously nudes, bodyscapes, bits and pieces on there that are more for tickling, scratching my creative itch, shall we say, and just seeing what happens.
And finally, what do you think of Ian's studio?
I'll be honest, when I first walked in, I thought, ooh, I haven't been, by the way, let me just say, prefix that by saying I haven't been to that many studios. I've only been to one prior to Ian's, and I've only been to one more since then. I really should go and see a few more. But I walked into Ian's and I thought, it's a bit small. We'll see what happens. But what I've learned since going there the first time, it's not the size, it's what you do with it. And it's taught me to be a bit more creative with my own. And it's a great little space. I mean, you've got equipment, you've got facilities, you've got Ian who's going to help you out, and it doesn't fill you with too much jargon. It tells you what you need to know. I've enjoyed going to his doctor, whatever he calls Doctor Images, Image Doctor. There we go, Image Doctor. I've done a couple of them with him. I've enjoyed those, and yeah, that's why I still keep going back. It's still why I keep watching his YouTubes, and it's informative. It's good stuff. There's so many out there that are either trying to sell you stuff that half the info's a bit either lost or it's not there in the first place. So it's nice to actually have someone who's sharing information, who wants you to have the information basically, rather than hide it under sponsorship of this and pretending to be that and it's not. So yeah, that's why I'm still here. So yeah, in studio.
Thank you for taking part in this photographer showcase. It's been great to learn more about you. So now I'll just hand back to myself in the studio. Right, how's that? That's better. Okay, right. It's happened again. This microphone business is proving to be a challenge. Right, okay, let's rewind and let's pretend we've just come out of the photographer's showcase. Yeah, Rick's spotted it, switch it on in OBS, that was it. Right, let's rewind and I'll edit this bit out once it's up on YouTube. Right, thank you very much, David, for taking part on that. I really enjoy getting to know more about photographers and finding out about them. That's why some of the questions are a little bit left field about who would you like to photograph, because it's all about finding out about the person as well, not just their work. But it's also a good opportunity to promote the photographers who are taking part. So anyone who wants to take part, get in touch. I send you the 10 questions, you send me your answers, I'll put them together, I put links and encourage people to have a look at the other photographers' work. So for this one with David, the links are all down below in the show. Have a look at his work, see what he's up to on there. I don't think there was no YouTube channel there for me to promote, but if there was, I'd be promoting that as well. So get in touch if you want to take part with that. Q&A, right. Add any questions to the chat, as I've already said. There is a delay. which is why it took me a while to realise there was no sound on there. Contact me during the week. Right, first question and answer, the one that came in during the week. This was in my Facebook group. And for those who may not be aware, I have a Facebook group which is all about sharing photos and asking for advice. And a question was posted this week, actually by David, who we've just done the showcase of, about setting up well, not a home studio, his actual studio. He's got some paper holders and was looking for some advice about what sorts of paper to get for it. So here was what he posted. He said, just put up my seamless paper background holder. Now the real question, what colours do I get? It holds 3. I'm going to buy grey. I'll stop at that point. With grey, you can do anything else. Grey is a brilliant background. It's the one I use more than anything else in the studio because I can make it be white, black, or any colour I want by the use of gels. So grey, you can stop at that. Okay, let's be serious. There are times you want to use other colours. And so this is what he was getting at. I can do black quite easy on the other side of the studio. You can do black with the grey background as well, David, on there. Does he get a white? Well, it depends whether you like that high key look. I know with a lot of your photography, David, that you tend to be all about the shadows. White is always a good staple to have in any studio. The reason I say that is there may be times as a professional, which I know that's what you're aiming towards, where somebody approaches you and says, I need a particular shot and I need it as a cutout. So if they want a shot to go on a website and they want the text around them, they may want it on a white background so it fits in on there. So white's always a good staple to have in your studio. You don't have to have it up on the wall all the time, but have one in there that you can use. But for your bodyscapes and your fitness, I've got a couple of other suggestions for you, which might be of interest to you. So here's the first one. It's purple. This is, after grey, this is probably my favourite colour background. Now in the image here, it's well lit. In fact, I've done the technique of a gridded light onto the background to give this pool of light. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat there. With this pool of light with from a gridded light, and it illuminates it, and I like the colour of that. But where it becomes really powerful is with things like your bodyscapes, your art nudes and things like that. So here's using it with a different kind of lighting where you've just got that hint of purple in there, and that hint of light just lifts the image and makes it stand out just that little bit different, where that image would work as a black and white with a black background. But if you want it in colour, having that just hint of purple there just really helps it. And I love that kind of lighting with it, where it's just that slight hint. The other colour I'd recommend, David, is red. Red's one of my favourites as well. And I have a setup here for some more glamour type work, which I call my red set. And it's the red seamless background with a red sofa, with red cushions, with shot through the red blinds. And those are the red blinds that I was showing you earlier as part of the little demo about setting up a home studio. They're very, very versatile. So that's the other thing I would recommend, David. Get a set of blinds, and if you can coordinate them with the background, it makes for some really interesting sort of shots with it. And the thing to notice about the image that you can see behind me is, you notice I've had to put the black bar on there, but I haven't had to put one lower down because it acts as a natural vignette because of the angle of the blinds as well. But that's with the red background behind, and it just keeps that nice that theme of the colour going all the way through the images. But you can just use it as plain red background. And here again, red setup, red sofa, red cushions, red background. Again, a nice, interesting sort of setup. So those were the two that I would recommend. You mentioned pink, blues and pink. Pink's a good one for a sort of pin-up type imagery, and pale blue for as well for sort of pin-up type imagery, if that's an area you're looking to go into. So that was that. Right, I'm going to play in my edit now of the 3-minute challenge, and at least I hope I am. I'm not going to use my hotkeys because they don't seem to be working. So let's come up here and hello. Right, I have another 3-minute Lightroom edit challenge. 3 minutes to edit a photograph. This image has been supplied to me by photographer Dimitri. So let's get the timer started and let's see what I can do in 3 minutes. Okay, that's the timer going. Right, let's have a look at this. I've lost my mouse already. Right, there's the image into the develop module. Right, it's a rallycross image. Right, taken on my birthday a few years ago, 5 years ago. Right, so it's obviously a panning shot. We've got a car going. Right, let's deal with a few of the obvious things first. Lens corrections. Enable those. Not made a huge amount of difference. Exposure is great. I'd like to see a bit more detail in all the dirt that's coming up there, so I'm going to tackle that first. Let me go full screen so you can see what's going on. There we go. Now, so let's open up the shadows a little bit. Yeah, that's better. What if I try and put a little bit of clarity in it? Yep, that's helping a great deal on there. Now, I'd like to see more texture, so I'm going to use the adjustment brush. That's the K to get that, and Shift to give me a bigger feather on there. And I'm going to say texture, whack. Oh, actually, I'm going to reset everything first. And I've got, I'm halfway through my time, so bring the texture right up and start painting that on. That should bring out the dirt that's being kicked up a little bit more. Take that up a little bit higher. Clarity in that area as well. That's helping a bit. Right, maybe just a little bit down at the bottom here as well. That might be a little much, but that's okay. Sky, right, a couple of other things. Q for the spot removal. Remove that because it's drawing my eye away on there. I'd like a little bit of a darker sky to it. So with that, I'm just going to bring the temperature down just slightly. No, that's not working. Use the white over here to get a white balance. That's better, like that. Still don't like that sky. Okay, let's put a gradient filter over it, reset everything, bring the exposure down very slightly. Gradient filter. There we go. It wasn't exposure I really wanted. Let's bring a little bit of saturation up on it and a little bit of blue into the sky. Just time for a crop on here. Let's tidy that up so it's a bit more about the car. That's about what I would go for. Maybe a little bit brighter, just about there. And I think, yep, I'm out of time. So that was my 3-minute edit. Let's have a look at the before and after on that. So this is my edit. That's before, but it doesn't reset the crop. So there's the difference in the in the two, toggling on and off, mainly concentrating on the dirt in there. So that becomes the focus of attention for the image. I'll give my feedback a little bit later in this video. So I'll hand back to me back in the studio. Bye for now. Not again! Not having a good night, am I? Right, we have sound again. Let's try all that again. Sorry about that, folks. That was entirely my fault. Forgot to switch the microphone back on. I was concentrating on the Q&A part. Right, okay, let's try that again. Haven't noticed much in the Q&A other than a comment about Nikon. Probably just as well my response about Nikon was muted. I haven't been following the story, so I don't know what the situation really is there on that. So sorry, I can't really answer that one, nor the other one about the industry. Oh, not having a good night with the sound, am I? Right, let's just move on. And I'm going to play in Rick's feedback on the image before I give mine. But just one thing to say at this point. This, I think, is one of the very few times in terms of an edit that both Rick and I have approached it in very, very similar ways. It's one of the very few times that's ever happened with the 3-minute challenge. And as you'll see, I think he picks up on one or two of the things that I dealt with in my edit as feedback items as well. So let me play that in. And hopefully I'll remember to turn the mic back on afterwards.
Okay, a little bit of feedback for you, Dimitri. Again, this isn't really a subject matter I shoot, so I'm not speaking from a whole ton of experience, really. I do like the energy in the shot. I like the build-up of the dirt and dust here and the car kind of coming out of it. I am wondering whether the shot would be stronger if we composed it a little looser and actually showed, not so much show the back end of the car because it's going to be covered in all this stuff, but go beyond the back end of the car just to show where it's come from. Maybe see part of the car through that and just see a bit more of the overall scene and what's just happened. Have they come out of a corner? Are they coming into a corner? You know, what's going on there really. It's not that I don't like this shot at all. If we look at the composition options and tool, it's fine for as it is. In terms of the composition, don't mind that at all. I just feel that I would like to see, and maybe you've got this already, maybe you've shot a little looser and punched in tighter, I don't know, but maybe you've got other shots a little bit looser so we see more. I'm pointing at the screen that you cannot see. Anyway, a little bit more off this edge really. Again, it's not a dislike, I'm just curious as to see, would it feel stronger? Is there maybe too many distractions over there? That's why you've framed it this way. I don't know. But overall, I do like the energy in the shot. You can look at all that being kicked. You would not want to stand near that with all that being kicked up, would you? No way. you're either going to get covered in mud or pebble dashed. Wow. I mean, these things I've seen on videos, and they don't half move quick. And I always worry when they're on the forest tracks, when the crowds are literally on the side of the road thinking, oh, they're going to hit him, they're going to hit him, they're going to hit him. Amazing driving skill. But yeah, overall I like the shot. I don't mind the blurriness, it shows the speed, shows the energy. It's cool, works quite well. I do kind of wish that this guy wasn't right on the edge, and also that this yellow thing wasn't there. A little bit of a distraction to the eye, but you're getting what you can. You know, your shooting position's probably limited, or you may have had to move, but it's nitpicking. But overall I do like the shot. I'm just curious of a more open composition. I would probably get rid of this, even though it is a piece of dirt thrown up and you can see the streaks there. That one, you're kind of thinking, is it a sensor mark? Is it a bird, a fly? So I would probably just get rid of that one, and then that would be it really. But thank you very much for sending that in, Dimitri. Nice to see something a little bit different really. Yeah, cool, rallying. Looks like he's going some. Right, over to Ian.
Right, we're back, and I think I remembered to turn the microphone on as well. Yes, I've got all the levels going. Oh dear. Right, okay. Let me go over and start talking about my feedback on this, because it is rather unusual. Both myself and Rick picked up on similar things actually. The cloning out of that one little bit of dirt, the crop on it. Now, that's the bit where, unfortunately, I was influenced by seeing your original crop, Dimitri. I saw that you cropped it out, and whether I would have cropped it without seeing that or not, I honestly don't know. I like to think I would, because it definitely needs it, because that yellow and the extra person really was drawing the eye, and it is much stronger for the for not having them in, for simplifying the image like that. Right, let me just go full screen for a moment on here while I have a think about this one. What else would I say about it? The blurriness on it, it's just, I'm in two minds about the blurriness with the image. It's one of those where I'd like to see it a little bit sharper for me. Yes, I can see the idea of the panning, but I would like to have seen either a faster shutter speed and therefore freezing the action on it, and I think that would have worked well with all the dirt coming up, or a slower shutter speed so that the people in the background are more of a blur, because they are sort of drawing the eye, because you can see what they're doing. They're photographers. You can see they're holding cameras on there, and the fact that I'm looking at that is taking my eye away from the car. So I would actually have gone. I'd actually have tried an even slower shutter speed to give a bigger blur on the background, or a sharper shutter speed and tried to find a position, if it's possible, where you haven't got the people directly behind the car for the shot. Other than that, I think it's a good shot. It's not it's something I would love to actually photograph, but I've never had the chance to on there. Thank you for submitting it. Great shot. Oh yes, that was the other thing. I wonder whether a slight vignette on it might actually help. I didn't have time to do it on the thing, and somebody commented that all my 3-minute edits have vignettes on them, but just a little something like that and then feathered off might also help with it as well. So yeah, that's my feedback on it. So now moving on, really that's the end of the show. I've overrun again, but not as much as I have done on some weeks. So just want to say thank you everyone for watching, and particularly everyone who's provided feedback on the changes I've been doing this week to the website. Thanks particularly for David for doing the chat, the showcase. Thanks to Rick for the 3-minute edits, and for Dimitri for supplying the image on there. And my usual plea: please subscribe both channels, this one and the travel one, if you're interested in travel. Please comment. Please like. I would say that I don't know whether anybody has liked while I've been talking, because my counter on the screen of how many people are actually watching and how many likes it's getting has failed. They're saying no sound. Yeah, I've got sound on here at the moment, unless Peter's watching behind time on it. Yeah, please comment, like, etc. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next week. So until next time, keep making great photos. I need to record the alternative ending for the cut down version, so that will be coming up very, very shortly. Thanks for watching this cut down version of Ian's Studio Live. The full version is now exclusive to my Academy members and can be found in my Academy. The details of the Academy are up on the screen there. It only costs £6 a month to join. There's lots of resources on there to help the photographer, from lighting sheets for studio work to guides to help you with your travel photography, inspiration sheets and training courses. So please consider joining that and supporting the channel that way. So thanks for watching, and until next time, keep making great photos. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Over here is a playlist of videos similar to this one, and here is a video I think you will like, whereas here is a video YouTube thinks you'll like. Until next time, keep making great photos. Bye for now.